Welcome to today's Explainer. We've got a truly fascinating piece of ancient source material to dig into today, a text known as the Dhananjani Sutta. Now, I know it's an ancient Buddhist text, but honestly, what we're really looking at here is a deeply relevant ethical case study. It tackles morality, the insanely heavy burdens of everyday responsibility, and, well, how we face our final moments. It's just an incredible narrative, and, as you'll see, the lessons packed inside it echo just as loudly today as they did thousands of years ago.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We're talking about one of the most universal human struggles out there. Does the drive to survive, to put food on the table and provide for the people you love, does that make the ends justify the means? Like, if you do something genuinely corrupt, but your motive was strictly to help your family, does that make it okay? That right there is the exact moral dilemma at the beating heart of our story today.
To really wrap our heads around this dilemma, we need to meet our two main figures living in the ancient city of Rajagaha. First up, we have Sariputta. He's this highly respected, deeply wise monk, actually known as one of the Buddha's chief disciples. And on the flip side, we have Dhananjani. Now, Dhananjani is a Brahmin, a guy with high social standing who works as a tax collector. But, well, as Sariputta soon finds out through the grapevine, Dhananjani has completely, utterly lost his way.
Our source actually spells out exactly how far Dhananjani has fallen. See, his first wife was a deeply pious, good woman, but after she passed away, he married a second wife who, let's just say she severely lacked faith and morals. Driven by his new circumstances, Dhananjani turned to heavy-duty corruption. He was playing both sides of the fence. He was using the king's authority to extort the everyday citizens and then turning right around and using the citizens to embezzle from the king. Basically, he became a thoroughly corrupt official, just padding his own pockets at the literal expense of everyone around him.
Now, what's absolutely fascinating here is how Dhananjani actually justifies all of this. When Sariputta confronts him, asking if he's living a diligent, honest life, Dhananjani throws his hands up and essentially says, "How can I?" He rattles off this frankly overwhelming list of obligations. Listen to this. He has to support his aging parents, his wife, his kids, his workers. He's got social duties to his friends, his relatives, his guests. He has religious duties to ancestors and the gods. He has obligations to the king, and, oh yeah, at the end of the day, he still has to literally feed himself. Honestly, for a split second, you might actually feel a tiny pang of empathy for the guy. He completely rationalizes that to pay for this whole shebang, he had to be corrupt.
But Sariputta, he doesn't let him off the hook that easily. Instead, he systematically tears down Dhananjani's defense using this brilliantly terrifying question. He asks him, "Okay, if you act corruptly for the sake of your parents, and the wardens of hell come to drag you away, can you look at them and say, 'Wait, hold on, I did it for my parents, please don't take me?' Or better yet, could your parents plead with the wardens to let you go?" And Dhananjani is forced to face reality. He answers, no. Even if he wept and begged, the hell wardens wouldn't care one bit. They'd toss him in anyway. Sariputta then ruthlessly repeats this question for every single one of those 10 obligations. Family, friends, kings, gods. Absolutely none of them can save you from the consequences of your own bad choices.
And this brilliantly illustrates the absolute core of Sariputta's whole rebuttal. Doing the wrong thing in the name of your family, it ultimately just damns you. The excuse doesn't change the reality of the deed. On the flip side, taking righteous action for your family is the only truly noble path. Sariputta masterfully corners Dhananjani, forcing him to admit that doing the right thing, supporting your family ethically and honestly, is literally the only way forward.
So here is the absolute game changer. Sariputta tells Dhananjani, look, there's other work out there. There are always righteous, totally lawful ways to fulfill your duties without resorting to being a crook. You don't have to choose between putting food on the table and keeping your soul intact. You can absolutely do both through honest, ethical work. And you know what? Dhananjani actually hears this. He rejoices in Sariputta's words, and the two men part ways. Now let's fast forward the narrative a bit. Some time later, Dhananjani is suddenly struck down by an incredibly severe illness. We're talking deathbed sick, and the text describes his suffering as just beyond unbearable. So, in a state of absolute, total desperation, he sends a messenger to summon Sariputta to his side one last time.
When Sariputta rushes over and asks if the pain is easing up at all, Dhananjani replies with some of the most visceral, agonizing imagery you will ever read in this source material. He describes the pain in his head like, imagine a remarkably strong man taking a sharp iron spike and just relentlessly crushing your skull with it. He says the winds of his illness are literally piercing his head.
And the horror doesn't even stop there.
He goes on to describe this excruciating agony in his stomach, saying it feels like a skilled butcher, or a butcher's apprentice, is violently carving up his belly with a razor-sharp meat cleaver. The pain isn't pulling back, it's escalating by the second, just tearing through his core.
Finally, he describes this burning fever consuming his entire body. He compares it to two immensely strong men grabbing a weaker guy by the arms and literally roasting him alive over a searing pit of glowing coals. It is a completely terrifying picture of physical agony. But, interestingly enough, this intense physical suffering ends up creating a stark, dramatic contrast for the profound spiritual peace that Sariputta is about to help him find.
Let's see how this builds, because Sariputta looks at this agonizing situation and realizes the dying man is entirely consumed, not just by physical pain, but by this crippling fear of falling into hell. Which, honestly, is a pretty legitimate fear, given his corrupt past. So to distract him, Sariputta plays this psychological game. He asks him to rank the realms of existence. He says, hey, which is better, hell or the animal realm? Dhananjani says, the animal realm, for sure. Okay, animal realm or the realm of ghosts? The ghosts. Sariputta carefully walks his mind up, step by step, through the human realm, up through the 6 heavenly deva realms, all the way up to the absolute highest realm recognized by the Brahmins, the Brahma world. And by doing this, Sariputta successfully elevates the dying man's focus completely up and away from his bodily agony.
Now that Dhananjani's mind is locked onto the Brahma world, Sariputta introduces the exact spiritual remedy he needs to actually get there. It's all about a specific meditative state of mind. To secure his safe passage away from the terrifying lower realms, Dhananjani has to cultivate a mind that radiates this boundless, infinite goodwill in every conceivable direction, north, south, east, west, above, and below.
And our source details exactly what this path entails. It requires cultivating what's known as the 4 boundless states. First up is metta, which is just pure loving-kindness and goodwill toward all beings. Second is karuna, a deep, genuine compassion for the suffering of others. Third, mudita, or empathetic joy, which basically means being genuinely thrilled for the success of other people. And finally, upekkha, which is equanimity, a totally balanced, peaceful mind completely free from any hostility or ill will. Sariputta instructs Dhananjani to just blanket the entire world with these 4 states of mind.
The really beautiful part of this whole explainer is that Dhananjani takes this teaching incredibly deeply to heart in his final moments. He lets go of all his past corruptions, he lets go of the excruciating physical pain, and he just immerses himself completely in loving kindness. Just moments after Sariputta leaves his side, Dhananjani passes away completely peacefully. And, exactly as Sariputta intended, he successfully ascends and is reborn into that heavenly Brahma world.
But wait, the source text actually throws us a huge curveball, a total twist ending. When Sariputta goes back to the Buddha and reports what just happened, the Buddha actually gives him a mild reprimand. He points out that Sariputta kind of stops short. See, because Dhananjani was a Brahmin, Sariputta just assumed the Brahma world was his ultimate goal. He saved the man from hell, absolutely, but he left the ultimate Buddhist liberation, nirvana, the total end of the cycle of rebirth, completely unreached. Basically, the Buddha tells him there was still more work to be done.
Which brings us right to our final takeaway for this explainer. We've just watched a man nearly damn himself trying to meet the endless, exhausting demands of the world, only to find peace at the literal 11th hour. It really leaves us with a provocative question. What are you going to prioritize before your time is up? Are you going to let the pressures of everyday obligations push you to compromise your morals? Or will you focus on cultivating a mind of boundless goodwill and ethical integrity while you still have the time? It's a pretty powerful thought to carry with you. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this ancient story sparks some fresh reflection in your own life today.